There's someone in your life right now who barely speaks. They sit in the corner. They observe. They watch. While everyone else is talking, fighting for attention, desperate to be heard, they remain silent. And here's what nobody tells you. That silent person, they're the most dangerous person in the room. Not dangerous because they're violent. Not dangerous because they're angry. Dangerous because they see everything. They know your weaknesses. They've studied your patterns. They understand you better than you understand yourself. And you have no idea what's going on inside their mind. Today, we're going to expose the forbidden psychology of silence. By the end of this video, you'll understand why quiet people hold a terrifying power that loud people will never possess. And if you're one of those quiet people, you're about to discover just how powerful you really are. This is going to change everything. Stay until the end. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, this is the place where we dive deep into the darkest corners of the human mind, where psychology meets philosophy, where we expose the hidden truths that control your thoughts, your emotions, and your entire life. So if that sounds like something you need, hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a room full of people where one person said absolutely nothing, and yet, somehow, that silent person commanded more attention than everyone who was speaking? Have you ever felt uncomfortable around someone who just listens? Someone whose eyes seem to penetrate your soul while their mouth stays shut? Have you ever wondered what quiet people are really thinking? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you've already sensed the power of silence. You felt the invisible force that quiet people carry with them. The ancient Stoics knew this power intimately. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, wrote, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." And what's the one thing loud people desperately seek outside themselves? Validation. They talk because they need to be heard. They argue because they need to be right. They fill every silence because emptiness terrifies them. But the quiet ones, the silent ones, they need nothing from you. And that is what makes them dangerous. In the next minutes, we're going to explore the dark psychology behind why silence creates fear, the hidden power that quiet people possess, how the Stoics mastered the art of silence, why loud people are secretly the weakest, and how you can harness this forbidden knowledge. This isn't just psychology. This is power. Let's begin. Here's a truth that will disturb you. Most people are terrified of silence. Not just uncomfortable, not just awkward, genuinely terrified. And when you understand why, you'll understand why quiet people hold so much power. Dark psychology reveals something fascinating about human nature. Our brains are wired to interpret silence as a threat. Think about it from an evolutionary perspective. In the wild, silence often meant danger. When the birds stopped singing, when the forest went quiet, it meant a predator was near. Our ancestors learned to fear silence. It was a survival mechanism. And this primal fear is still embedded in our nervous system today. When someone goes silent around us, our brain sends an alert. Something's wrong. What are they thinking? Are they judging me? Are they planning something? Are they a threat? This is called ambiguity anxiety. The human mind hates uncertainty. It craves information. It needs to know. And silence provides nothing. It's a blank canvas onto which our fears project themselves. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Studies have shown that people will literally hurt themselves rather than sit in silence. In one famous experiment, participants were left alone in a room with nothing but a button that would give them an electric shock. They were told to just sit quietly with their thoughts. No phone, no distractions, just silence. Within minutes, most participants shocked themselves. Let that sink in. They chose physical pain over the discomfort of silence. That's how terrifying silence is to the average person. But quiet people, they live in that silence. They've made peace with what terrifies everyone else. They've mastered the very thing that sends most people into panic. And that mastery is power. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This wasn't just practical advice. It was a recognition of the power dynamic. The one who listens controls the conversation. The one who remains silent holds all the cards. Seneca reinforced this when he wrote, "The greatest power is often simple patience." And what requires more patience than silence? The quiet person isn't avoiding conversation. They're choosing a higher form of communication, one that most people are too afraid to use. Remember this. It's the foundation of everything we'll explore today. If you've ever felt the power of silence, if you've ever been that quiet person in the room, drop a comment below. I want to know, do people fear you? Are they uncomfortable around you? Tell me your story. Now let's go deeper into the psychology of silence. Here's something that quiet people know, but will never tell you. While everyone else is talking, they're collecting data. This is called the observer advantage, and it's one of the most powerful psychological positions a human being can hold. Let me explain how this works. When you speak, you reveal. Every single word that comes out of your mouth gives away information about you. Your fears, your desires, your insecurities, your weaknesses, your dreams, your vulnerabilities. Your tone reveals your emotional state. Your word choice reveals your intelligence. Your topics reveal your priorities. Your reactions reveal your triggers. The more you talk, the more you expose yourself. But when you remain silent, you give away nothing. You become a mystery, an unknown variable, a closed book that others desperately want to read. And while others are busy exposing themselves, you're watching, learning, understanding. Dark psychology calls this information asymmetry. It's when one person has significantly more information than the other. And in any human interaction, information is power. The quiet person knows your secrets. You know nothing about them. The quiet person understands your patterns. You can't predict theirs. The quiet person sees your weaknesses. You can't find theirs. This is why quiet people make the best strategists, the best negotiators, the best leaders. They see the entire chessboard while others are focused on their next move. They understand the game while others are just playing it. Marcus Aurelius, despite being Roman emperor, was known for his silence in Senate meetings. He would sit, he would listen, he would observe, while senators argued and debated, while they revealed their alliances and agendas. Marcus watched, and only when everyone had revealed their positions would he speak. By then, he knew exactly what to say, exactly who to trust, exactly what to do. His silence wasn't weakness. It was strategy. Seneca wrote, "Listen to others, not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to understand that there's always more to learn." The quiet person isn't silent because they have nothing to say. They're silent because they understand that listening is more valuable than speaking. Every moment of silence is an investment in understanding, and that understanding becomes power. But there's an even darker aspect to the observer advantage, one that few people acknowledge. Quiet people don't just collect information. They collect ammunition, not necessarily to use against you, but they could. They've heard your complaints about your boss. They've noticed your reactions to certain topics. They've observed your tells when you're lying. They know which buttons to push if they ever need to. They understand your insecurities if they ever want to exploit them. They see where you're vulnerable if they ever need to strike. And that potential is what makes people unconsciously afraid of quiet individuals. They sense that the quiet person knows too much. And they're absolutely right. Here's a dark psychological truth that will change how you view silence forever. Unpredictability is the ultimate power, and no one is more unpredictable than a quiet person. Let me explain. When someone talks constantly, you know exactly who they are, their beliefs, their opinions, their emotional triggers, their thought patterns. They've handed you a complete manual on how to deal with them. You know what makes them angry. You know what makes them happy. You know how to manipulate them. They've given you everything. But a quiet person? You have nothing. You don't know what makes them angry. You don't know what makes them happy. You don't know what they'll do next. This creates a psychological phenomenon called uncertainty threat. The human brain perceives uncertainty as danger. When we can't predict someone's behavior, we become anxious, alert, fearful. Our survival instincts activate. Think about the last time you were around someone you couldn't read. How did it feel? Uncomfortable? Unsettling? Maybe even threatening? That's the power of unpredictability at work. And quiet people have this power naturally. Dark psychology reveals that unpredictability is more intimidating than aggression. An aggressive person is predictable. You know they'll attack. You can prepare. You can defend. But a calm, silent person? You have no idea what they're capable of. Are they plotting revenge? Are they completely indifferent? Are they about to explode? Are they at peace? You don't know. And that not knowing creates respect, creates fear, creates power. The Stoics understood this principle deeply. Epictetus taught that we should never reveal our full selves to others. Keep your innermost thoughts to yourself. The less people know about your mind, the more power you retain. This wasn't about deception. It was about strategic preservation. Every thought you share, every emotion you reveal, gives others power over you. But when you remain an enigma, you remain untouchable. Think about the most powerful figures in history. They were often described as unreadable, mysterious, impossible to predict. This wasn't coincidence. This was strategy. They understood that power comes from what people don't know about you. Silence creates a vacuum, and that vacuum fills with whatever people fear most. Your silence becomes a screen onto which others project their own anxieties. And you don't have to do anything. Your silence does all the work. We're about to go even deeper into the psychology of silence. If you're finding value in this, hit the like button right now. It helps more people discover these hidden truths. And trust me, what's coming next will change how you see quiet people forever. Let's continue. There's a phenomenon in dark psychology that makes quiet people almost supernatural. It's called the mirror effect. And once you understand it, you'll never underestimate silence again. Here's how it works. When someone is silent, your brain desperately tries to fill that silence with meaning. It can't tolerate the void. It needs an explanation. And what does it use to fill that void? Your own thoughts, your own fears, your own insecurities. The quiet person becomes a mirror, reflecting back whatever is inside you. If you're insecure, you'll assume the quiet person is judging you. If you're guilty, you'll believe they know what you've done. If you're afraid, you'll sense danger in their silence. If you're hiding something, you'll think they can see right through you. The quiet person hasn't said a single word, but you've already condemned yourself. This is the dark power of silence. It forces people to confront themselves, and most people don't like what they see. Think about interrogation techniques used by intelligence agencies around the world. One of the most effective methods isn't torture, isn't threats, isn't aggression. It's silence. The interrogator asks a question, then says nothing, just stares, just waits, just exists in that uncomfortable void. And the subject? They start talking, rambling, confessing, not because they were pressured, but because the silence became unbearable. Their own guilt filled the void. Their own conscience turned against them. This is the mirror effect in action, and it happens everywhere, not just in interrogation rooms, in relationships, in workplaces, in friendships. Whenever a quiet person is present, others begin to see themselves more clearly, and that can be terrifying. The Stoic philosophers used this principle for self-examination. Marcus Aurelius wrote about sitting in silence, letting his own thoughts reveal his flaws. The object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane. Silence exposes insanity. Silence reveals truth. Silence strips away pretense. And the quiet person wields this power naturally. When you remain silent around someone, you force them to confront themselves. You become a mirror they cannot escape. Their discomfort isn't about you. It's about what they see in themselves. And that is why quiet people are dangerous. They expose others simply by existing. No words needed. Just presence. Just silence. Just power. Now let's explore how the ancient Stoics mastered silence and turned it into an art form. Because silence isn't just about being quiet. It's about strategic control. The Stoics had a concept called verbal economy. This meant speaking only when your words would add more value than your silence. Think about that for a moment. Most people speak because they're uncomfortable with silence. They want attention. They want to appear smart. They're afraid of being forgotten. They need validation. These are all ego-driven reasons. None of them serve a strategic purpose. But the Stoics spoke only when it mattered. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." Applied to silence, this means people fear your silence more than anything you could say. So why say anything at all? Let them imagine. Let them worry. Let them fear. Your silence does more work than your words ever could. Marcus Aurelius practiced what he called the pause. Before responding to anything, he would pause. Sometimes for seconds. Sometimes for minutes. Sometimes he wouldn't respond at all. This drove his opponents insane. They couldn't read him. They couldn't predict him. They couldn't manipulate him. By the time he spoke, every word was calculated, precise, powerful. This is Stoic verbal economy in action. Here's a practical principle from Stoic philosophy. If you can achieve the same result with silence, choose silence. Silence preserves energy. Words expend it. Silence maintains mystery. Words eliminate it. Silence demonstrates control. Words often reveal weakness. Silence protects you. Words expose you. The Stoics understood that most human problems come from speaking too much. We say things we regret. We reveal too much. We give away our power. We make promises we can't keep. We share opinions that create enemies. But silence makes no mistakes. Silence never has to be taken back. Silence is never misquoted. Epictetus taught, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Applied to silence, the quiet person is always learning. While others are busy proving what they know, the quiet one is absorbing everything. They leave every interaction smarter than they entered, wiser than before, more powerful than when they arrived. This is the Stoic advantage. Silence isn't passive. It's the most active form of intelligence. So we need to expose the other side of this psychology. Because to truly understand the power of silence, you must understand the weakness of noise. Here's a dark truth that will shift your entire perspective. Loud people are almost always compensating for something. Dark psychology reveals that excessive talking is usually a defense mechanism. It's not confidence. It's fear. Fear of being overlooked. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of being insignificant. Fear of the emptiness inside. Fear of their own thoughts. Think about the loudest people you know. Really think about them. Are they truly confident? Or are they desperately seeking validation? Are they genuinely powerful? Or are they terrified of being exposed as weak? Are they comfortable with themselves? Or are they running from themselves? The answer is usually the latter. Seneca observed this pattern thousands of years ago. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Loud people waste their time, and everyone else's. They fill every moment with noise because silence would force them to confront their own emptiness. Here's the psychological pattern. Insecurity, need for validation, excessive talking, exposure of weakness, more insecurity. It's a cycle that never ends. The more they talk, the more they reveal. The more they reveal, the weaker they appear. The weaker they appear, the more they need to talk. Round and round. Forever. But quiet people? They've broken this cycle. They don't need validation. They don't need attention. They don't need others to feel complete. Their silence is evidence of their self-sufficiency. And in a world of desperate noise, self-sufficiency is rare. It's powerful. It's dangerous. It's attractive. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Notice he didn't say the quality of your words. Because thoughts are internal, silent, private. The quiet person cultivates rich inner worlds, while loud people remain slaves to external validation. This is why quiet people often achieve more in life. While others are talking about their plans, quiet people are executing. While others are seeking attention, quiet people are building empires. While others are exposing their strategies, quiet people are implementing them. Silence isn't just powerful. Silence is productive. We're entering the deepest part of this video now. If you've been quiet your whole life, and people have made you feel like something was wrong with you, share this video. Send it to someone who needs to hear this message. Let them know that silence isn't weakness. Silence is the ultimate strength. Now, let's go even darker. Here's where we acknowledge something uncomfortable. Quiet people aren't always saints. They have a dark side too. And it's important to understand, because this dark side is what makes them truly dangerous. You see, all that observation, all that information collection, all that strategic silence, it can be used for good, or it can be used for destruction. The quiet person who has been watching you, studying you, understanding you, they know exactly how to hurt you. Not physically. That's too obvious. Too crude. Too easy to defend against. They know how to hurt you psychologically. They've identified your deepest insecurities. They've mapped your emotional triggers. They've found the cracks in your armor. They've discovered what you care about most. And if you cross them, if you betray them, if you underestimate them, they can dismantle you without raising their voice. They can destroy you with words you'll never forget. They can wound you in ways that never heal. Dark psychology calls this calculated retaliation. Unlike loud people who explode in rage, quiet people plan. They wait. They strategize. They execute with precision. You might not even realize you've been destroyed until it's too late. This is why you should never mistake silence for weakness. Never mistake patience for passivity. Never mistake quietness for inability. The quiet person has been watching, and they remember everything. Think about history's greatest manipulators. They weren't loud. They weren't flashy. They weren't obvious. They were quiet, calculating, patient. They watched. They waited. They struck. This is the shadow side of silence. The same powers that make quiet people wise can make them dangerous. The same observation that brings understanding can enable manipulation. The same patience that creates strategy can fuel revenge. If you're a quiet person watching this, you know this potential lies within you. You felt it. The dark satisfaction of knowing you could destroy someone if you wanted to. The power of holding secrets that could ruin lives. The ability to see through people who have no idea how transparent they are. The question is, how will you use it? The Stoics taught that power without virtue is destruction. Marcus Aurelius wrestled with his own capacity for darkness. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Use your silence wisely. Use your observation for understanding, not manipulation. Use your patience for growth, not revenge. Your silence is a gift. Don't turn it into a weapon, unless absolutely necessary." We've traveled through the darkness of silence. Now it's time for the light. Because understanding the psychology of silence is one thing. Mastering it is another. Here are the practical principles to harness this forbidden power. Principle 1. The 3-second rule. Before you speak, pause for 3 seconds. Ask yourself, will my words add more value than my silence? If the answer is no, stay quiet. This simple practice will transform how people perceive you. You'll become more mysterious, more respected, more powerful. Within weeks, people will start treating you differently. Principle 2. Observe before you engage. When you enter any room, any meeting, any conversation, spend the first few minutes just watching. Who's seeking attention? Who's avoiding it? Who's confident? Who's pretending? Who has power? Who's performing? Let others reveal themselves before you reveal anything. This information is gold. Collect it silently. Principle 3. Makes silence comfortable. Most people feel silence because it's uncomfortable. But when you're comfortable in silence, others feel it. And that comfort is perceived as power. Practice sitting in silence. Embrace it. Let it become your natural state. Soon, others will be the ones filling the void, revealing themselves to you. Principle 4. Speak only with intention. Every word you say should have a purpose. If you're speaking just to fill space, you're giving away power. The Stoics called this verbal economy. Make every word count. And when words aren't needed, let silence speak. Principle 5. Use silence strategically. In negotiations, silence after an offer creates pressure. In conflicts, silence removes fuel from the fire. In relationships, silence creates space for others to reveal themselves. Learn when silence serves you and deploy it intentionally. Principle 6. Protect your inner world. Not everyone deserves to know your thoughts. Not everyone has earned access to your mind. The Stoics guarded their inner world fiercely. Your silence is a boundary. Use it to protect your most valuable asset, your psychology. Principle 7. Transform judgment into observation. When you're silent, you'll see a lot. Some of it will tempt you to judge, to criticize, to condemn. Resist that urge. The Stoics taught observation without judgment. See people as they are, without needing them to be different. This transforms your silence from cold to wise, from threatening to understanding, from dangerous to powerful. We're almost at the end of this journey. Before we finish, I want to ask you something. Will you use this knowledge? Will you harness the power of silence in your life? Leave a comment below. Tell me one situation where you'll practice strategic silence this week. I read every comment, and I want to see you grow. Now, let's close this with the final revelation. Here's the final truth about the psychology of silence. In a world addicted to noise, silence is rebellion. In a society that demands constant self-promotion, being quiet is revolutionary. In an era where everyone is desperate to be heard, listening is power. The quiet ones understand something that loud people never will. Your value isn't determined by how much noise you make. It's determined by the depth of your understanding, the clarity of your thought, the precision of your action, the wisdom of your observation. You don't need to prove yourself with words. You prove yourself with results. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire in history and spent his private hours in silent self-reflection. Seneca advised emperors, but valued his quiet study above all worldly success. Epictetus was a slave who became one of the most influential philosophers in history through the power of his silent contemplation. Silence isn't emptiness. It's fullness, full of observation, full of understanding, full of power, full of everything that matters. The quiet person you see in the corner, the one who barely speaks, the one who makes you slightly uncomfortable, they are not weak. They are not shy. They are not lacking. They are dangerous because they've mastered the one thing that terrifies everyone else. They've made friends with silence. And in that silence, they've found power that the loud will never know. So the next time you encounter a quiet person, remember what you've learned today. They're not just listening. They're learning. They're strategizing. They're understanding. And they're far more dangerous than you ever imagined. You've reached the end. And if you're still here, you're exactly who this message was meant for. Whether you're a quiet person who finally understands your power, or a loud person who now sees silence differently, you've gained knowledge that most people will never access. Use it wisely. If this video opened your mind, do 3 things right now. 1. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. We're just getting started, and the knowledge we're uncovering here will transform how you see the world. 2. Leave a comment below. Tell me, are you a quiet person, or will you now become one? What will you do differently after watching this? 3. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Someone who's been made to feel wrong for being quiet. Someone who's been told to speak up when their silence was their greatest strength. The psychology of silence has been exposed. The power of quiet people has been revealed. The forbidden knowledge is now yours. Until next time, stay silent, stay observant, stay powerful,